my loves, and welcome back to Along This Spiritual Journey. I am Jah, your spiritual tour guide, and on today's episode, E is for energy. And one of the things that we're going to talk about primarily is how to protect your energy, how to recognize what your frequency is when it comes to the energy that you put out for others when they're drawn to you, and how to avoid being drained by those who are drawn to you, as well as how to strengthen your energetic field. So this is one where there's many different elements that are going to play along to this. So I'm just going to start with the very simple practicing to say no. When you know how to say no, you are going to protect so much of your energy so fast, so quick, because so many of us are trained to be subordinate, be yes men, be people pleasers, and we tend to lose ourselves in the process of what we genuinely enjoy doing or what we want to do or where we want to be in life, and we end up giving that energy away via work, via family, via chores, and just simple things. Again, even with kids, of course, that's something that we have to give energy to, but the process of learning how to set boundaries and teaching children how to set boundaries for themselves is going to not only protect their energy, but also enhance yours, because now you're creating this legacy of truth that they can adhere to, follow, and abide by as they get older themselves. So one of the things that I always talk about is the knowing how to surround yourself with energy that you like. I know most people talk about, again, like the people they hang out with and the activities they do. I mean, genuinely, when you're by yourself, sitting at home, what type of energy do you like? Do you like overhead lighting? Do you like lamps, right? Do you like more of a silhouette lighting? Do you like music playing consistently, or do you like it completely quiet? Do you enjoy having exercise during the day or at night? What type of snacks do you like? Do you keep them in the house? Do you not keep them in the house? What type of shows do you watch? You know what I mean? These are all things that actually protect your energy and give back to your energy. They are kind of like what we call like a refill, right? Like how you charge a battery. These are things that are going to allow you to remember like why you want to do the things you do. Like, of course, we have to work, so no one really wants to work. Some people enjoy working, but for the most part, no one really wants to work. So when you have your off time and you get to have your energy back to self, how do you replenish, right? Most people, when they think about protecting their energy, they think about it in the aspect of, I would say when I usually hear protect energy, I think of it as getting rid of people out of your life. That is a part of it. I actually think it's a very small part of it. I don't think that it's that important to try to go through your whole life and try to get rid of everyone. Trust me, I've done it. It's cathartic, it's therapeutic, but then at the end of the day, you are left by yourself and you're isolated and you have to start all over again. And that is something that I'll tap into more later. But right now, I want to focus more so on how to replenish your energy. So for me, I do the daily threes, right? That is good food, good sleep, and good exercise. However you think about it. I am not super fit, right? I'm fit enough, but exercise to me is daily walks, or at least every other day walks. I try to do something where I stretch or I do some type of yoga or calisthenics. I don't even really go that long or heavy. I just do enough to keep my body moving and letting it feel stretched, right? I think a lot of times when we think about working out, we think about muscle gain and being ripped and all that. But the most important part of working your muscles is that they can stretch so that they can keep producing movement, right? So that you can still feel like you're able body and that you can produce and progress throughout life, however that looks. So one of the things, like I said, I love to do is stretch and go on walks. I try to do it daily. This is something that is a non-negotiable. Even if I don't want to or I'm not in the mood, I will force myself to get down on the ground and do some stretches or low lunges or just laying on my back and doing the dead bug, whatever I can do, right? I do have some weights where once in a while I lift weights. The walk is essential, just again, because I sit all day at work. Right now, I do have a standing desk, which has been one of the best investments ever. But also, I try to get out of the house when I can to just take a quick 30-minute walk. Sometimes I'll be a little ambitious and I'll do like an hour and a half to 2 hour walk, or like a 2 to 3 mile walk, which can take some time. But again, it really depends on what you want to do. I always tell people, when you start doing these practices, you don't have to force yourself to do it exactly the same way every day. A little progress every day goes much further than doing nothing. I know people have heard this before, but it's true. So some days I go hard and heavy, other days I go light and easy, right? But for the most part, I'm still doing something that allows my body to feel like it's re-energized. The second one, as I said, is good food. When you know that you love to snack like I do, it's very important to find food that is going to make you feel comforted, but also satiated. You don't want to just be eating and eating and eating and eating and feeling empty, because that drains your energy. It's one of the number one things that drains people energy. Most people don't talk about it, but think about after you eat a really heavy meal. You're tired, you're lethargic, you don't want to do much, so it's draining your energy, right? So when you can find ways to eat food that you like, so I usually cook every day for the most part. It's very rare for me to have anything takeout as far as like fast food. I will order fast food on the weekends. When I'm out and about, I will have food out. But for the most part at home, I generally cook every day from scratch. I don't mean like I make my pasta from scratch. I get Starbucks pasta, but I just make sure it's healthy pasta and has the most minimal ingredients possible, and that it breaks down easy in the body. So I do try to shop healthy, but for the most part, I get the pasta. I still got to boil it. I got to get my sauces and all that, and things like that, whatever. However you want to do it. The whole point is, let it be a type of meditation. It becomes therapeutic, right? For me, cooking is very therapeutic. I used to do it for others. I don't really love doing it for others. I learned that about myself through the process. And what I mean by that is, I don't mind cooking for my loved ones, my intimate family, but I used to work in restaurants and manage them. I do not like cooking for the masses. It becomes work. It's not fun, and it's not as relaxing to me. For some people, they might thrive in that world. For me, I'm like, absolutely not. So I had to learn very quickly that cooking is for me. It's for another way for me to meditate, takes my mind off things, lets me focus, and it re-energizes me. It lets me think of fun recipes and other things I want to do. It lets me become creative without too much force, right? Because at the end of the day, for me, usually if I'm making food, I really do make it look pretty, but for the most part, I don't care if it looks pretty. I care if it tastes good. So I practice a lot on flavors, and I love food chemistry. So I'm always playing with something to try to see, like, can I get this flavor to taste like this and like that? And then once I kind of nail down the flavors and the technique, then I will start making it look pretty if I'm going to present it to others. But definitely, I love my snacks, so I definitely always will try to make sure that I have healthy snacks around. I do eat a ton of fruit and veggies. I'm vegetarian, vegan. I used to be like 100% vegan. I tell you this, it's meant for some people, not everyone. I don't mean as far as animal consumption. I mean as far as knowing the type of oils and fats you need for your body. So for me, pure vegan was too much water dense, stripped me, broke me out, made my eczema worse. So I went back to vegetarianism, which I have eggs once in a while or cheese once in a while. Even though to some people I know they're like cholesterol. Well, that's just a part of it. I have to find fats. There are avocados and oils and all that, but again, I digress. To each their own. All I'm saying is, for my body, I need something more than just like water-based food. So I had to add in like chips once in a while. Like, I didn't used to eat chips, so I had to like corn chips or something, yellow corn chips, like, because they have the beta carotene and stuff. So like, I have snacks, but I try to make them healthy snacks, right? I have like candy once in a while, so it's not too crazy, but for the most part, I try to substitute that out with something else, or I'll eat the things I like and then just try to eat really healthy throughout the week. So that's another way to preserve your energy. Sleep is probably the hardest one for me to really nail down, because I'm always busy. I'm always on the go. I'm always doing something, may it be for work or for my own business. I am constantly up. I am a night owl, and it's really hard for me to lay down. So a lot of the times where that's where the exercise and eating good and having the extra activities come in, because at least then after I finished all my work, it gives me the opportunity to kind of relax, chill, do whatever I want, right? So sleeping is something I'm definitely working on. I do love to sleep, don't get me wrong. It's just I've always been one of those people, I wake up so easily. It doesn't matter, the smallest sound wakes me up. So what I have learned to do so that it doesn't happen as often is incorporate earbuds. I play music at night, like sleepy time music, which honestly, surprisingly, really helps me, because I do wake up a lot, but when I wake up, I hear the music, and for some reason it puts me right back to bed like a lullaby. So that's another way I found to preserve my energy. Of course, connections to people. This is one for probably other people who love, because I am a true through Aquarius. So what that means is my detachment level is very high, and I love people, but I don't love a lot of friends. So I tend to be a solo. So I don't have as many people as I talk to besides the people in my life that are close to me. But of course, for others, I would suggest still having your social situations and social gatherings and meeting up with people and talking to people that you love talking to. Now, this is a great segue into protecting your energy. I talked about some refilling your energy, how to re-amp, just very simple things. But protecting your energy does come down to knowing when to tell someone no as far as the frequency is going, right? So I have met people where they can be a good friend, but their entire discourse, their entire reality is complain, 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 complain. And the funniest side to it all is they don't know they're complaining, because society has conduced and made the world more available to complaints as the normalcy versus just being able to vent. Venting is like, oh, I had such a long day. I'm so tired. I did so much work. I'm just so ready to relax. To me, that's venting. What venting is not is, do you know what? I don't like that B, and they did this to me and I did this to them, and every time I do this, they got to talk about. That's gossip, right? That's negativity, and it's draining. And if you have people like that in your life where every conversation is that, do not blame them. Remember, we attract who we are at that time. So there's a level of you that entertained it, was used to it, okay with it. And so therefore, they believe that that is the normalcy with you. I tell my friends all the time, they're like, why do these people always call me complaining? And I'm like, because you made space for them to complain. And at some point in your relationship, you trauma bonded. At least they trauma bonded, and now they believe that it's normal to complain to you because you will let them vent without interruption. So this is why I tell people, you have to reset those boundaries and tell them, like, listen, no, I'm okay listening, but no, I don't want to hear all the extra nuances of what you could have said, did, and all this, especially if it's happening all the time with the same people and there's no change, right? Because we know these people, they will complain about their partner over and over and over. They'll complain about the same coworker over and over and over. They'll complain about the same job. Whatever the point is, it's the same thing. And it's like, well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to implement any change? Do you want to change? Or is this just something that's so normal to you that it's like breathing, right? And so when it comes to protecting your own energy, you do have to know how to tell these people, no, I don't want to hear it. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. Oh, well. And I found that the people who care about you will adjust and they'll figure it out. At first, they might not like it because then they ain't got nobody else to talk to or complain about it with. But eventually, they will see where you're coming from. And it's like a ripple effect where they recognize that, now that I don't have this dumping ground to put all this, I have to hold it or put it somewhere else. And I'm realizing that, yeah, it is pretty negative. Maybe I should work on that, right? Then there's some people where they're just like, what? Forget that person. I'm going to say whatever I want to say and do whatever I want to do. And that's how they get you, right? And that's where I say it might be time to recognize how to reevaluate relationships like that. And if someone can't respect who you are or where you are in your journey of learning how to protect your energy and how to let go and elevating your frequency, because elevation of frequency is reading new content, reading new books, doing new things, trying new activities, trying new food, going places you've never been before. That's raising your frequency and your vibration, because now you're literally going out there and you're opening your body up to new experiences, and it's going to remember the body has memory, so it's going to remember everything that you're doing, may it be good or bad. So it's best to introduce new concepts and new ideas and new experiences so that the body has a reference point versus just the old trauma and the old experience and the old that it knows that feels comfortable. Because believe it or not, that statement is true. When you get used to doing something bad or good so much, it becomes a habit, right? It's the same thing when I was talking about food and sleep and all that. Like, my bad habit is going to bed late. I try to go to bed early, but I don't try that hard. So I can't complain when I don't get enough sleep, right? Same for food. I love eating out and all that stuff when I can, but when I'm at home, I'm pretty good about not eating crappy. So for me, that works out. So this is what I mean by knowing how to set the tone for your own energy, so that you're not constantly being drained from every which way. Because I think a lot of people forget, like, we are literally energetic beings. Our brains run on energy. Our brain is energy. Our heart runs on energy. It is energy. Speaking is energy. Moving is energy. It's all energy. That's why we need to eat. That's why we need to sleep, because it is a type of replenishment for our energy. If you use a battery over and over and over and you drain it, right, it loses life until you recharge it, if it's able to be recharged. So it's the same thing for the human condition. We just have to recognize when to do it and when not to do it, right? And so when it comes back to these people, again, relationships or other. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I know it's not easy to tell someone that you can't speak to them or you don't want to speak to them. I'm very guilty of ghosting people. Not in the past, presently, because I myself tell people throughout the friendship, throughout the relationship, a duration of time, like, hey, can you work on this? Or hey, can you not do that? Or hey, whatever. And they'll listen for a minute and then they'll find a way to disrespect me again. And that's when I'm like, you gotta go. And I have no tolerance for people who can't respect what I need. And I mean, I'm not saying running away from every relationship or every hardship that you have. Absolutely not. But what I do mean that is, if you see somebody who loves to live in chaos and they're okay with being a mean boy or a mean girl and they don't want to change, and they get off on knowing that it's a type of power that they can, people forget that being mean is the quickest, easiest power. Being nice takes a lot more of your own personal energy, right? You can be mean and get all the energy from everyone around you because they're going to agree with you, and it's very quick, but it's like fast food. It doesn't last. It's not good. It's shallow. It's empty. Being kind, being nice, right? I don't mean being fake nice where you're performative. I mean, like, there's genuine times when people say hi to me and I could be like, get out of my face. No, I have to be nice in that moment. Like, hey, how are you? And be polite. Or I could ignore them, whatever. That's my choice. But in those moments, I choose to be nice. Being kind is when I know that I need to make space or have empathy for someone in a certain situation where they can't see themselves or can't see the outcome, and they might just need a little help. And so I say, let me step in and give them a little boost, give them a little encouragement, whatever. That's being kind. But that takes a ton of work, right? That takes a ton of energy, because I don't think people realize that a lot of the times we're not even kind to ourselves. So to extend that kindness to other really does take a lot of work, because this world we live in, sometimes it really does seem like the bad is winning or whatever, or the bad guys. It's not that. What's happening is there's so many people who recognize that high school politics work, and instead of trying to elevate and grow up, they just remain in high school, which is the cliques, the bullying, all of that kind of stuff, right? That's why we love the TV shows that are based on high school. We love anything that's related to high school, because it was much more carefree. We didn't have to care about our outcome of retaliation. But now that we're older, consequences come, right? You can't just go out being mean to everyone for no reason without expecting people to not do it back to you. There's no adult that's going to step in and say, now you guys, you're the star players, you need to be nice. Ain't nobody going to do that. You can be the star player, they can be the star player. They run their life how you run your life, or differently. But in their world, they get what they want. In your world, you get what you want. You come together and you clash. You guys have to be mature enough to know how to work that out and work through it. So that's why I say it's really important to, again, know how to have conflict resolution, how to communicate with self. Emotional intelligence is, again, not about others. It's about how you talk and speak to yourself. That's one of the biggest ones that I think people have to recognize is, how do you talk to yourself? I am not guilty of this. There are days when I'm like, I just don't see the light. But that's the times when I remind myself, like, it's okay. Sometimes you have to be in the darkness. The darkness is a necessary part of wanting to see the light. The light is beautiful, but once you're in the light, it's also intense. So again, it's learning how to recognize what replenishes your energy, what drains your energy, and how do you keep it going. This is all a cycle. And so I think the one that matters the most when it comes to relationships and connections is, again, as I said, is knowing how to have discernment. If you can tell when someone is not meant for you, or they don't care about you, or they're not in your corner, it will show. The disinterest will show. The lack of communication or trying to work together will show. Things will seem a lot more, I always say, when it has a ton of resistance, trust it. I'm not saying that it's bad. To just trust that it means there's a reason. Sometimes it's good, and it's going to mean you got to just put a little more work, because good things don't come easy. Good things come when you really put in the work sometimes. And I know most people say, oh, well, it should be the other way around. Good things can come to you easily, but they don't just come to you without you making yourself available, putting yourself out there, creating the space and the energy to call it in, right? Good things. Now, fast things happen that seem good, right? We can talk about that. There's a lot of times you take that job and you thought it was gonna be great. Nope. You rush into that relationship and you thought it was gonna be great. Nope. That's why love bombing, job bombing, all the bombings exist, because we have to know how to say, this is going to drain my energy. This is, like they said, use discernment. Like, yeah, they called, but then they didn't call back right away, and then they didn't have any information for me, and then they made me wait almost a month to hear back from them, and now they're calling me back, and that's one end of it. The other one is, oh, can you start today? Can you start today? Yeah, well, let's just get it today. And it's kind of like, why are you so quick to try to get me in the door? So it really is that middle. It's weird to say it, but it's like, too long is too much, too quick is not enough. So you want that middle where you can have enough of a vantage point and viewpoint, is how I look at it, where you can see, okay, I've been there and I know that I don't need to rush anymore. But I also am trying to get there, and I see that I can reach it, but I know it's going to take a long time. And so you got to work towards it, but also know when to step off that path if it's not the right path for you. That's another level of protecting energy. There's been many times, especially in content creation, where I thought I was on the right path and I was doing something over and over and over, and I'm realizing, like, this ain't it. Like, yeah, I'm doing it consistently, and yeah, something might come of it later, but this ain't it as far as my happiness, my joy, my pleasure, right? So you gotta go back to the drawing table, reevaluate, and figure out what it is you enjoy doing. And then when you do that, it doesn't seem like it's as much work. It doesn't seem like it's taking all your energy. Like, when I create videos, in the beginning, it feels like so daunting. But then once I'm in the groove of making them consistently, it's so easy to do, because I got my format, I got my templates, I got everything I can put together. I have my content calendar produced by me, made by me, my thoughts. Again, I'm not against anything AI. I truly believe that it is a tool, and I know most people don't want to hear that, but like all things on this earth, as we know, if you don't utilize it correctly, it will take over and be taken over by the people who really don't care. So I'd rather people who care actually find a way to make it fair and utilize it correctly than leaving it in the hands of people who don't care, who are going to extract everything from you and really leave you empty and drained. So anywho, that was just a side tangent. But yes, content calendar, coming up with the images and the thumbnails and the this and the that, and editing. Editing is the biggest part that makes it hard. I was a TikTok guy for a while, and then I switched over to YouTube. I've always loved both. But I will admit I was not putting as much work into YouTube as I should, because the editing process takes forever. And as much as I love creating, the process of editing takes forever. But that's also the artistic side. It actually gives me energy. And I know people have said it before, when you're working on something you really love, you don't think about eating, drinking, anything. You just are focused. So there is times when I'm so focused, I haven't ate or drank anything in almost 12 hours, because the editing process takes so long, but it's also so rewarding. So it is like a double-edged sword, where it's like, it gives me energy and it makes me happy, but also it does drain my energy. So it's finding a way to balance it. So I'm all over the place, but I'm giving examples because I'm one of those people where I listen to videos, and sometimes if it's really structured, that's great. But for the most part, it's the ones who are just talking all over the place that I love listening to, because they give me the most random confirmations or ideas. Because I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's where I was thinking, that's where I was going. So if you follow along, again, I always say thank you. But yes, I'm a very sporadic speaker. I've learned that I say a lot at once. That's all over the place, conceptually wise, but it will all come back at the end. It makes sense. And so the last part of preserving your energy that I want to talk about is, of course, the spiritual side. Spirituality, to me, is the silent prayers that we tell ourselves, and knowing how to find peace even when things aren't going the way we want. Because a lot of the times things aren't going to go the way we want. But learning how to find peace and learning how to respect peace is such a game changer. It is the GOAT as far as spirituality goes, because in the beginning of it, I really thought it was about the disciplines, the meditating every day at this time and eating this certain food this way or doing this certain chant this way. Those are disciplines, again, that help us get closer to self and help us open up our third eye, per se. The awareness of self. That was the very first video, A for awareness, which again leads us to understanding that awareness, which takes us into our belief, which was the next video. And as we understand our belief is what opens up our consciousness. And that consciousness, again, you see I'm going down the videos, they have a theme. That consciousness is what then aligns us with divine timing. And divine timing is always going to be about E for energy. How we put ourselves out into the world, how we present ourselves, how we are willing to take time to be patient with ourselves. Because again, it takes a lot of energy to be patient, believe it or not. Some people see you sitting still and think you're doing nothing. Let them. Because you understand, I'm like, there's times when I seemed like I wasn't doing nothing, and I literally had about 6 consecutive projects going, and my mind was fried. My body was fine, but my mind was fried. And so I had to learn that for some people, they don't understand that patience takes a ton of energy, because you have to wait. You have to be present with it. And sometimes being present is always the hardest part. It's easy to fantasize and go forward. It's easy to kind of go back and like reminisce on the past, but being present is what really matters. Because again, we do want to protect ourselves, again, when it comes to the things that we consume, as far as substances that we use to alternate our consciousness, if you know what I'm saying. I will say this is me, I'm an adult. We all have one life to live as a human. We have many lives to live as a soul. As long as the human is not abusing it, using it as escapism, or hurting themselves or others when they are enjoying these things, I say so be it. Live your life, do you, but of course responsibly enough and moderation. The soul, it does not need it, in my opinion. The soul will use because it wants to stay in that altered state of higher frequency. Remember, the body's dense, earth is dense. So the soul wants to be up here. It wants to go everywhere it used to go, but it's tethered to this body. Now, many people have many reasons of what that means. I'll let them believe that. Some say it's hell on earth, some say it's heaven. To me, it is an experience. I feel that just like anything we do in this life, we have done in our soul life, where we get bored. Like if you live, think about it, if you live thousands and thousands of years, giving up like 50 or 40, 60 years on a human earth don't sound too bad. Until you're here. And then you're like, oh my God, I feel stuck. Why am I here? And you start laughing. I just think it's funny because I love this one song. I forgot her name, but she's like, Earth is ghetto. And I'm just like, it is. Earth is truly ghetto. But ghetto to me does not mean anything associated with any group of people. To me, it just means that like, it's very MacGyver. You just gotta figure it out. You gotta throw stuff together and make it work. And so that's why I'm laughing. But anywho, yes, protecting yourself spiritually comes back to, again, knowing how to talk to self, knowing how to pray to self, I pray to self. What I mean by that is I do not pray to anything outside of me, and I don't say that it's wrong for anyone to do so. But when I pray to self, it's always saying, protect me, take care of me, make sure that we're safe, make sure that you see me. Because who I'm talking to is the soul. I am the flesh talking to my soul always. And my soul is always talking to my flesh. And it's my gentle reminder that we are in this together, right? Because again, one of the things I remind people, unfortunately, if you have been in a situation where you've seen someone pass, where does that life go? The body's still there, but the life is gone. So the essence of who they were is the soul. I don't care how anybody wants to argue it, whatever they want to believe. You can be the best scientist in the world, you're still going to pass, and whatever energy was your life source leaves. So knowing how to protect that is vital to this experience. It's the most important part of this experience. So for me, that's where I found purpose. That's why I create videos. That's why I create the content that I do, because I learned at some point my human body is fine doing whatever, but my soul has a yearning to give back. It wants to teach. It wants to speak. It wants to be heard. It needs to be heard. And so as the body, I validate that. And I say, okay, this is what keeps me from being depressed. And so if I allow the soul its avenue and opportunity to get out what it needs, then me, the body, I also feel more success and more accomplished, because now I don't feel that longing inside of me for more. There's always going to be that longing for more, right? That's just human nature. But the soul side of it is, or I can't even blame it on the soul, the human. It could be the soul. I've never really thought about it as far as that. Either the soul is yearning or the body's yearning, but something is yearning constantly, always, for more. And so because of that, that's why I've learned to just listen to both, trust in both. If I'm out and about and I'm enjoying myself, but my energy starts to feel off and it's like, we gotta go, I'll investigate it first. Like, why do you think we need to go? And I'll kind of look around and be like, the vibe's off. I'm not feeling it anymore. Trust that. Go with that. Don't just ignore it, because a lot of the times that really can save your life. And so for me, so in the light of my eyes, for me, it's really, that's why I say it's important to know how to communicate with self and soul. The same thing again, we're talking about strengthening your spiritual field. When you strengthen your spiritual field, it means that you're taking the time to have intention. You're intentionally doing things that make you happy. May that be pretty nice things and fragrances that smell good, or whatever, decorating, whatever it is, playing video games, whatever it might be. It's knowing that you are learning how to strengthen your spiritual field, so that when things come around you that don't vibe with you, it instantly rejects them, instantly. And you'll see it. You'll see it by the way people put their nose up at you, like, oh, you think you better than me, you bougie. Energetically, whatever I'm giving off is right, yes, because it's telling me that your soul or something in you is dark and it don't like me, and I'm okay with that. I would rather somebody be like, oh my gosh, you seem so chill and happy, I love that. We're vibing, I like that. You can come into my energy a little bit. Again, have discernment. There's always going to be somebody who knows how to manipulate the energy, and that's where you get to that next level of spirituality. So I'll save that for another video. But anywho, I hope this one makes sense. E is for energy, protected on all levels, from the physiological to the emotional to the spiritual. I hope this makes sense. I love you for being here. As always, follow me on my other social medias. At the bottom of all my pages, you see all the different pages that are connected to me. I'm very transparent about that. You can also go to my website, check out my projects there. There's always more to come. But again, as always, thank you, loves, and enjoy yourself along this spiritual journey. Besos.